Hi, on Make It Monday today I'm going to show you some different surfaces with transfers using the transfer artist paper. So I've printed out 8 of these images and cut away some of the detail. I'm going to transfer them onto 8 different surfaces and show you both the transfer process but also what it looks like on different surfaces. So let's get started. Right, so I've printed the images and then I've cut away some of the background. I could cut away as much or as little of the image as I want. You can colour and draw, you can add different textures to this, you can crumple it up and make it look a bit aged and old and damaged. I'm just going to transfer this. So, image goes surface down onto the fabric or whatever surface you're printing onto, transferring onto. When you're printing your images onto the tab, one side has lines, so there's a grid on the back, and the right side, the correct side that you're printing on, is completely white. Now, TAP was off the market for a really long time because one of the ingredients became unavailable, and they've had to reformulate it, and it's finally back, and I'm so excited. It's been back for probably close to a year now. You would have seen my interview on the Australian sewing community with Leslie Riley the other week. This is the product that she fairly much revolutionised, and I have her books and the TAP on my website if you're interested in having some. So I've given that a bit of an iron for a few minutes, less than a minute actually, and you can take the TAP off hot or cold. So the critical thing is, as you're taking it off, make sure that the transfer has occurred and there's not a lot of colour left on the paper. So if the transfer hasn't fully transferred across, the image hasn't transferred across, you can always just lie that back down and give it another iron so that it transfers properly. So I'm just going to gently peel this off, and then this isn't coming off easily. There we go. Sometimes if it's not coming off really smoothly, it could be that you haven't transferred the image well enough and you haven't ironed it. So I can see there's quite a bit of the texture still on the surface. So I'm just going to go back and give that little bit an iron. It's easy to miss the corners and the edges, and especially if you're working on a really large piece, it's very easy to miss the bits in the middle or whatever. See how easily that just came off? So that's that transferred onto cotton. So if I bring this up a bit closer, you can see the quality of the image. It's really precise, really exact. Now I've gone through and I've transferred it onto 7 other materials. And I'm just going to work my way through with those. So images, because the TAP is semi-transparent, it has colour coming through. So when I transfer my image onto a coloured piece, the colour influences the background. So you can see the difference with those two, where on the white background there's nothing bringing the colour forward, and on the pink background it's got that pink tinge to it throughout the whole piece. So you can see the pink coming through. I've put it on some cotton scrim as well. Now the reason I did that was because I wanted to show you that it doesn't have to be nice, smooth, 100% cotton. I further wanted to emphasise the impact that having colour behind it has on the piece. And this is very textural, so you can actually see the texture coming through. And in something that's very, very textural, the image will only sit on the surfaces that it touches. So if I put this onto something like lace or corduroy, I'd get a really interesting broken up effect with my image, because it would only transfer to those really raised surfaces where the contact of the TAP came in contact with the fabric. But there's lots of really interesting things you can do with the texture of those. Now, moving on to some slightly different sorts of fabrics, I have transferred onto a felt. So this is an acrylic felt, and again, the texture of the felt comes through the background. Now, I can work with this. When you first put it on the surface, it is a little bit stiffer than if you had just fabric, but as you work with the piece and you wash it or you handle it, it's going to soften up and drape really nicely. So there's that one on the felt. Now I've moved on to some slightly different fabrics now, and I've put it on some Luchador. So let's peel this off. You can't overheat your transfer artist paper, but you can scald the image, the surface that you're putting it on. So just be careful when you're working with things that are a more fragile surface. So something like this, because it is a meltable background, I lightly ironed, then let it move away, and I kept going up and down with the iron rather than lingering for a very long time because I didn't want to burn away my background. Now I've put it on some card. There is an enormous array of surfaces that you can put the transfers onto, and this is just on a really heavy card. Now, because this is slightly non-absorbent, you get that texture through there. So some of the melted image has almost pooled on the non-absorbent surfaces. With all the ones that I've done previously, the colour and the polymer that holds the colour is absorbed completely into the fabric. But on there you start to see a little bit of texture based on the fact that the imagery could only absorb so far into the actual paper or card. The second last one I've done is onto some Craftex. We all know I'm a big fan of Craftex, so the capacity to put images and things on it is just awesome. And see how the colour influences this image again? So it's quite dark there. But imagine a really antique sort of piece with lots of images across it, and then stitched and added to your work. Now the final surface I've put this on is definitely not for everybody. And this is a mica tile. Now, mica tiles are sheets of mica that you can buy for mixed media, for jewellery making, all sorts of other things. And they come super, super thin. And then when I add an image to the tile, you get this transparent effect. Now I could use this either way. I could have that with my tap image on the top, sitting on there, or I could turn that over and put that into something where the image is encased in the background. Really good for jewellery and a whole raft of other different finishes and surfaces. So as you can see, there's a whole world of ways that you can use the transfer artist paper to create really quite amazing transfers. And the best part is it doesn't have to be the base of the image. You could make a quilt, have all sorts of things, and have all sorts of embellishments, and have the transfers as the very last layer. So it doesn't have to be set into the quilt like the fabric that you print on. It doesn't have to be on particular surfaces. You can really mix it up and have a lot of a play. Leslie's new book covers off a lot of the different surfaces as well. And as I said, if you want to purchase that or the transfer artist paper, we have it in packs of 5 and packs of 18. But well worth having a great play if you want to create memory quilts, you want to put imagery into any of your projects, you want to create imagery into jewellery or mixed media, all sorts of things. So I hope you found this useful, and I will invariably do more with tap over different segments across the year. Enjoy, and I'll see you next week for a new project.